Raj again. Good, with his very specific questions. How to treat blushing. Yeah, there we go, Raj. How to treat blushing. Well, I have a technique that would be perfect for that. Let's think of what blushing is. We tend to think of blushing as a symptom that just happens. It happens to us or happens to the client and then goes. Okay. How on earth do you deal with that? Wow. Well, okay. Aside from all of the programming in the past, when they've had previous experiences which have installed that trigger response mechanism to certain events or certain things that are said to that client, which produces the blush. Aside from that, we can actually work directly on the symptom itself. But let's talk about the cause. We're looking at how that particular pattern is being maintained. Well, it's cause and effect. It's a trigger response. Something happens, and then we get that feeling, and then the blush happens. Okay. And we tend to think it's just a one-off thing, a blush. What do you deal with it? Well, it's not just a blush. Okay. So we work on the causes. We don't work on the causes by necessarily going back. We can look at how the brain's maintaining the memory of those trigger response reactions, maybe many times in the past, how it's maintaining that. But then we also work on the symptom itself. And the symptom, every symptom, even though it just seems like a blush, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So what we need to do is identify what's the first thing that happens. And then I'd recommend, if you're doing this, identify what's the very last thing that happens. So you've got the beginning, the trigger, the thing that then terminates the blush. So you've got two to work with. Then find out what happens in the middle. So what happens between the trigger and the termination? What happens right in the middle? How are you feeling? What's going on? So it may be something like, oh, I'm breathing. I'm starting to hyperventilate a little bit. Okay. So let's say the first thing is someone says something and I get this rush. Call it a rush or whatever. The last thing that happens is I feel safe and I feel that I've cooled down. Good, it was cooling down. So what's right in the middle? Okay, let's say I'm starting to hyperventilate. Okay, so what happens between the first one and the middle one? Okay. Oh, well, my hands start to sweat. Oh, okay. Okay, so we've got the trigger, hand sweating, breathing, accelerating. What happens between the breathing and the last one? Oh, that's when I suddenly become aware my face hot, heat in my face. Okay, so just imagine, okay, there could be any kind of parts of this strategy. So you've identified a strategy, which we call blushing. Of course, everything has a strategy. We just have to break it down into these components. But now, if you've got a strategy with 5 components, you can play with this, especially using hypnosis. You can change them. You can take one of the steps out of it. Like a domino, you're taking one of the dominoes away. If you take a domino away, what happens? The other dominoes can't roll down, can't fall down, can they? So you can change, or you can mix them up. Why don't you change the different steps so the unconscious mind can't process it and can't produce the blush? Because the strategy has been changed with hypnosis. So this is how I would normally work with blushing, or any kind of symptom that seems like, oh, what can you do with that? That's like a difficult one. It's not difficult if you break it down and you can change the way the brain responds to it in the present. First of all, by looking at how it's maintained, and secondly, by disrupting it. There you go.